Well, Friday Night Tykes is definitely a interesting show. I haven't really watched it too much before this. I've seen bits and pieces of it, and every time I watch it, I think the same stuff. I mean, kind of what we're all thinking. I mean, what's going on there? I mean, it really reminded me of like Friday Night Lights almost. I mean, of course, it was Texas, and all football there is huge. I mean, obviously, even youth football, but I mean, the way uh, the coaches, the parents, even the players themselves. I mean, we saw the kids at the beginning trying to lie about their age sometimes, and I mean, just to get into this league. And I mean, I do think it has a lot of truth though, in for youth coaches all over the country at this point. Not to that extreme. I mean, they are on TV. They know they're on TV. I think that plays into it a lot, and I think a lot of it is probably exaggerated to a point. I do, and that league is definitely nuts, and they're unique. But maybe not all of it, and some of it is exaggerated. But I mean, taking that into consideration, I mean, coaches have shifted along with youth sports, and it's more about winning now. And I mean, honestly, I mean we've talked about this before and stuff, but I mean, what does winning mean in youth sports? I don't understand the obsession with it at that level. I mean, it's even kind of obsessive at the high school level, but I mean that I can understand to a point. But 9 year olds and 8 year olds, I mean, getting thrown out on that football field, and these coaches are living through these players. I mean, these coaches seem to have maxed out in high school football, and that was it. And now they want to keep living, their dreams of football glory, and they're just telling these players to go out and whack each other and to, do helmet to helmet hits. And these kids are freaking. They're 8 years old and 9 years old. I don't understand it at all, but I mean that's the show, and I do think other youth coaches. I mean, maybe not to this extreme, but winning is priority now, and it's kind of been the case for a long time in sports, especially youth sports, that these coaches sometimes can get very carried away and they can almost I mean, like live through these players, and it's a shame because I mean, we sit here and we say, oh, why don't these coaches get a life? Like, why do they care so much? Why are they yelling? Why can't they just go out there and teach these kids how to play football properly, and not care about who wins this little league youth football camp? I don't understand. I mean, the obsession with it, but I think it is representative of a lot of other coaches. And for my own experience, I mean, my football coach in middle school was definitely he was strict, and it kind of reminded me of him to a bit because it was the whole weakness leaving the body and drills constantly and just yelling, and at the time I mean it didn't even seem that bad, and even looking back on it, we were middle schoolers, so there's a huge difference between that and Friday Night Tykes, but it's still not old, but it reminded me of that to a T almost because a lot of my the whole crew in the middle school football was definitely kind of off the rails a little bit, and also I know for a fact. I mean, my brother played baseball for a long time, and one of his coaches when I mean he was in I think like sixth grade, and his coach would go out screaming at the umps, and throwing, acting like he was on an MLB manager going out kicking dirt. He threw cups and stuff onto the field. I mean, this was a little league baseball league, and this guy's going nuts, almost game in and game out. Eventually, the parents reported, and there was enough complaints from the parents that he wasn't the coach the following year. So this does happen. This type of stuff is not just TV. I do think it's exaggerated a bit on TV, but this stuff happens all over the country every day. I mean, players go. I mean, these kids are discouraged sometimes from playing sports because their coaches are so nuts, and they make them think that winning these youth leagues is everything, and it's that it would even affect them later on. I mean, these kids really. The only thing that affects them is if they know how to play the game properly or not going forward. It really doesn't matter if they won their youth league at the age of 9 or not. I mean, who's going to ask them that? But that's why it's more important to these coaches, it seems like, than the players. And the players are just kind of convinced that, I mean, these little kids are told from a young age by their parents that they got to play football. I mean, they're growing up in Texas. You got to play football as soon as possible if you're a boy, and they don't even see anything wrong with it. And that's dangerous moving forward because we're almost encouraging this culture of winning obsessed coaches, and the whole point of the league is kind of going by the wayside in my mind. So I think there needs to be some changes made now, changing a lot of people's attitudes. I mean, thousands of coaches who are currently under this mindset that they have to win every year. That's going to be hard, and it's going to take some time, and it really takes a shift in society to do that, for people to realize that this isn't right and it has to stop for the sake of the players themselves. I mean, these kids are getting hurt, and they just need proper instruction. They don't need to be told to go out and ram their helmet into another player. I mean, they're going to be told not to do that, when they get into high school ranks and stuff. So it's really doing nothing but hurting them in the long run.